Hi,
They
everybody.
said that it had like.
Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Okay. Like she said, I'm Meg Levy. Y'all probably don't know much about the consigning scene. Breeding and farms kind of come before the racing, of course, and then somebody's got to sell the stock. So what I do, I have sort of a traveling gypsy roadshow where we take horses to different sales. So we go to Keeneland in Lexington, we go to Fasig-Tipton in Lexington, and we go to Saratoga up in New York. Basically, I spend my time recruiting, looking at horses all over the country, mainly yearlings, but a lot of breeding stock, a lot of race horses, and weanlings. So now it's November, we're getting ready for a very big horse sale starting out right after the Breeders' Cup. In fact, the day after the Breeders' Cup. So what I thought I would tell a story about is what I do and how I got into it, because I get asked all the time, mainly by young women who want to get into the business, how did you get into this? How can I do what you do? It looks like so much fun. You know, I really would like to do what you do. I want to be you. And my immediate thought is, no way do you want to be me. But it's a little bit of a long story, but it kind of starts out when I started to reflect over the many years that I've spent after moving to Lexington in 1987. That was the year that Winning Colors won the Derby, and I can remember it very well. I went out to see Secretariat at the Hancock's place, and I was basically a college student that had no idea about anything about the horse business. So instead of having blue sky and family connections and all the opportunities that I could possibly have, all I was armed with was a love for horses. So I went from graduating from college and a boyfriend from Lexington, came back to Lexington, decided that I wanted to do something involving horses. And what I started out with in 1992 was galloping racehorses. So the guy I worked for, Johnny Ward, who is no longer training, was training me to be an assistant. So I thought that's really what I wanted to do. Well, thankfully, I wasn't really that good at galloping racehorses, certainly not like Emma Jane. So I wasn't really good enough to continue galloping, so I decided that I'd probably need to be an assistant trainer. Now, I did leave out one little thing. At the time, I was a single mom. So being a single mom and working on the racetrack can be very difficult. So it was time for us to go to Florida, and Johnny said to me, listen, if you really want to do this, I'm really behind you. You can come on and do it. But really, you might want to look at Lexington and try to make a life there rather than traveling so much. So I took that very hard. I thought, well, I guess I'm not good enough to go. I guess I'm not, I'm just not going to make it. I've got a lot to learn, that sort of thing. So very mad at him, I went on to the next thing, and I got a job managing a farm in Lexington. Well, I had never managed a farm in my entire life. I'd worked with horses, I'd ridden, mostly ridden, and I went to do what I thought was going to be my dream job, which was managing a farm that had riding horses as well as race horses. So the farm was owned by a new-to-town Chanel executive. They built a state-of-the-art facility. I moved in with my young son, who was 2 at the time, and I thought, okay, I can do this. This is something that I can really get a hold of. So about 3 weeks into my new job, there were brood mares and there were weanlings, riding horses, etc. In the middle of the night at 2 a.m., the owner's wife called me and said, listen, it's thunderstorming. We need to go and get these mares up out of the field. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this what this business is all about? So we went and got the mares out of the field at 2 a.m. And I thought, you know what, this is really pretty crazy. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. So I talked with the owner. I decided to do something else. I really felt like I was hopping around. I hadn't really I wasn't good enough at anything at that time to be able to really create a career. So from there, I went to another farm job, a farm called 505 Farm. There, I found a gentleman called Bill Graves and his wife, Michelle Graves, who were running quite a training operation. So I already knew how to ride. I learned how to break yearlings. I learned how to manage people a little bit. And then they asked me to go to Florida to the 2-year-old sales. So this was way back when we rode 2-year-olds side by side, and they didn't go as fast as they now do. So when I did that, I was told, you make the fast go faster and the slow go slower, Meg. What are we going to do? So I cleaned everybody's tack. I did everything that I could possibly do. I kind of felt like I was still not quite there. So back at the farm after the 2-year-old sales, I met a gentleman called Bucky Reynolds. Bucky was a famous show horse judge from Virginia, and he was helping out an outfit called Eaton Williams. Eaton Williams was the largest consigner that I knew, and a pretty good deal at the time. So little did I know that Bucky wanted me to be a showman for Eaton, and certainly little did I know that I was going to be the only female, or the very first female. So that was probably about 1993, 94. So if you can imagine the fact, we see so many females now working in the sales and working with horses in general. If you can imagine the first female showman for Eaton was in that year, it's really, truly amazing. So I was pretty excited, but also very nervous. The very first sale that I worked was the Keeneland July Select Yearling Sale. So lots of pressure. I think the average price was probably about $500,000 at the time of each yearling. So I show up, it's all guys. They're all sort of looking at me like, oh, is she going to be able to handle it? They give me one yearling to handle. I'm standing there waiting to go out, and all of a sudden, the TVs come on in the barns. So I remember the name of this filly. She was by a sire called Deputy Minister out of a mare called Kapalua Butterfly. The reason I remember it is because as soon as those TVs came on and that auction noise came on, she flew like a butterfly. So here I am, totally, trying to do my best, nervous. The filly runs off quickly. I lose her. I'm totally doing the walk of shame. The guys are all laughing. So I walk out, catch the filly, come back. I'm just totally, completely demoralized. So the guys all, try to give me some hints and stuff, and hey, this is what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. I made it through. I paid attention. I kept my ears open and tried to learn from everybody around me in order to, get the drill. So this is what I need to do to show these yearlings. So finally, I got pretty good at it. And I was getting an idea as to what was going to happen in the consigning situation and how I could move up, how I could do better. So fast forward to about 1998. I have gotten married again. I'm pregnant with my second child. And I feel like I've worked pretty hard for this company. So I've moved up. I've gotten to a point where I'm helping some clients, looking at their horses, trying to help them decide where they're going to be sold, et cetera. And I'm really not making very much money at all. So I decided to go see my boss and discuss what the future was going to hold. So I called a meeting. I went in. He said, so I guess you're pregnant. I said, yeah, I am. So he says, so you want to quit? I said, no, I don't want to quit. I need to make more money, and I want to be more a part of the company. So all of a sudden, I watched the look on his face, and all the color drained out of his face. And he said, that is not going to happen. So I took a breath. I said, really? Not even an offer? Not even nothing? No other kind of job for me to do than hands-on? No. So I turned on my heel and went home and thought, I can't believe I just spent the last 6 years with this company. What did I decide to do? Well, I decided to start on my own. In 1999, we put out a shingle, sold 3 horses in the Fasig-Tipton February sale. In July of that year, we sold 6. In Saratoga, we sold 8. And the first year, we grossed about probably $500,000 total. I was so excited when I sold my first $100,000 horse at Keeneland September. The client picked me up off the ground. I was having a great time. The only thing I really didn't like about it was that I had to manage my own paperwork, and that was really, really tough. So anyway, from there, after I completed a full year on my own, my husband at the time suggested that maybe I should take a partner and get some more volume and some more experience. Well, take a partner I did. My partner's name was Kitty Taylor. We got together, and suddenly we were selling 150 horses in each sale. So by the time we hit 2000, we were selling 150 horses in September, 150 horses in November, and boy, was it an experience for me. At the time, I had 2 little kids who were both under the age of 4, and 1 son who was older. So I also wanted to kind of address the myth of doing all that at once. And you know, a young company is like a baby as well. So when you're trying to do everything yourself and you're trying to take care of kids and all of that, I talk to a lot of young women who think that there is a possibility of doing something called having it all. Well, you can have it all right, but it ain't gonna happen all at once, because there's timing for everything, and you know, you have to concentrate on what your goals are at the same time you're concentrating on your kids, and it's very difficult. So the greatest thing about Kentucky and the horse business in general and racing, I think that it's really still a meritocracy. So if you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to listen, to try to get your eye on the ball, to try to get the essence of what the business is, there's a lot of room in the business for young people, especially females. The females that I tend to meet, though, want to go right to the top. And that's, I guess I sound like I have been in the business for 30 years, and I have my own you know, sort of hard knock story. But I really think that that's important to share with our young people. Now I have a son who's 27 that works for me, or works with us, actually, and my other kids are college age. So I'm familiar with how we've parented and what we've been allowing them to expect. What I learned in my time coming into the horse business as an outsider, complete outsider actually. I'm from South Florida and came into Kentucky not really knowing anyone, but I was welcomed with open arms. I was allowed to do just about anything that I could do, and as long as I listened and did the right thing, I moved up, and I was able to move up. The most important thing is I kept doing everything wrong in a lot of ways, and I was never really, really, really good at anything. So finally, when I hit the consigning stage, it seemed like it was a good fit, both for my life and for my skills. So in counseling young people now, particularly, you know, the girls who come to see me and think that they can just step up and suddenly be an agent, I try to, you know, offer them the advice of being able to take constructive criticism, being radically transparent in what they want to do, and of course, trying to get a mentor. I'm at the point now where I do mentor some young people. I've mentored a couple who have become extremely successful. Carrie Brogdon is the owner of Select Sales, or an owner of Select Sales, and has bred horses like Tepin. So she was a client who I took on and was able to teach the beginnings of the business to, who went on. I guess in general, the whole thing that I've done is do things wrong, not good enough, take chances, and finally figured out what I could do and what I couldn't do, but there's a lot of mistakes along the way. So if there's anybody out there that really wants to try the horse business and thinks that it's unreachable, it's not. I'm just a neighborhood girl that liked horses growing up. I read a book about the Triple Crown when I was 9 years old. I don't know how on earth I ended up starting this and being so lucky to work with people like those that have been on this stage earlier, from Del Hancock to Emma Jane and everybody in between, Tanya Gunther. It's just it's a real honor to be able to be up here and share my story with you. So, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.